The Adventures of Elliot. This was just announced in this morning's Nintendo Direct, and they actually dropped a little demo. This is from the same team behind Octopath Traveler and Triangle Strategy. It has that same HD 2D style. However, this is an action game not too dissimilar to a top-down 2D Zelda game. And I played the demo, and it is very, very promising from what I played. Out of everything in that Nintendo Direct, which had some ups and downs, maybe a lot of downs, but for me, there was some cool stuff. The Adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Tale, in true Square Enix naming fashion. There's a very long title there. This is by far the highlight of the presentation, and this demo sold me on the game even more than I already was. So that's what we're talking about in today's video. Of course, if you are new here and you enjoy Nintendo Switch 2 collecting, but also reviews and impressions like this, I would appreciate you liking the video and subscribing. Let's get into it. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the channel. Wanted to hop on here and talk about this new Adventures of Elliot game. It has that signature Asano art style, has those character portraits, has the HD 2D art style, and there is a demo out right now on the Nintendo Switch 2. Seems like it's coming to Switch 2, PS5, Series X, and PC. No Switch 1 for this game, but then Octopath Zero is also on Switch 1, so this is going to be a true, I guess, next-gen exclusive game. And if you've played any of these recent HD 2D games from these teams, you'll immediately, be familiar with this, except for the fact that it is a 2D action game that is very similar to 2D Zelda. I didn't realize watching the reveal trailer just how much of a 2D Zelda game it really is, but when you play this demo, you are going to immediately find out that, even down to the enemies and the boss fights, this is a 2D Zelda game. And as someone who wasn't the happiest with Echoes of Wisdom, and while I can respect them trying the whole, echo mechanic and doing something a little different there, this feels like a proper evolution of the core 2D Zelda experience that I've been waiting for since A Link Between Worlds. It's been a long time since we've gotten something like that on this caliber of this high quality. The dungeons are really cool, a lot of cool puzzle solving. So you play as Elliot, obviously, but you also have a fairy companion. I believe her name is Faye. I might be saying that wrong. She's your Navi in this game. However, she's not just there to talk to you and give you hints and tips and stuff. She also is involved in the gameplay and the puzzles. So you have these cooldown abilities where you can use the right stick to move the fairy independently of Elliot and teleport there. That's great for puzzle solving. She also has like a dash ability cooldown, and I presume there will be more in the full game. She's great. Having these core mechanics just makes traversing the world so interesting and exciting because there's puzzles everywhere. Even if, just in this demo, they're a little bit more basic. It's like, okay, move the fairy over there, teleport there, hit the switch. It's still so refreshing to have a new high-quality 2D Zelda game, essentially, that is using the core mechanics that you would expect to see in a modern 2D Zelda game. Not doing any of the weird Echo stuff that was in Echoes of Wisdom that definitely bogged that game down for me. Now, I don't think I did everything I could have done in this demo. There was certainly some more exploration I could have done, I believe, but I followed the objectives. I was, doing the side dungeons that I saw and grabbed the chests when I saw them. But even in my, 40 minutes to an hour playtime, the amount of variety was really surprising. There's a lot of enemies in this demo. Now, I don't know if that's because they just want to show off a bunch of their different enemy types in the early game, and, maybe they'll be spread out more in the full release. But just from this demo, there's a lot of different enemy types. There are these frogs that sing and put shields on other enemies, and you have to, take down the frog first to actually end up damaging the other, snails or whatever. There are these, Black Knight dudes who do a crazy piercing attack with their sword that you have to block. If you press the R button in this game, in time, you can kind of parry, and some attacks will, kind of reverberate back. If it's like a fireball or something that's coming at you, if you block it right, it'll go back and hit the enemy. A lot of enemy variety, and the combat is very fun. I need to see more of this. I need to play more of it to really see how fresh it will stay. The enemy variety is there in terms of how you're taking them down. That's already pretty good. However, it feels a little stiff, not unlike a regular 2D Zelda, but, you swing your sword. There doesn't seem to be any fluidity in the animation there. If you press it in quick succession, it doesn't do a swipe back. It just does the exact same animation. So that feels a little weird. Something that really feels off to me is the lack of a dodge roll. I feel like a dodge roll would be really great in this, but maybe they want you to focus more on actually blocking, which in that case I can respect. And I'm hoping there are more weapons. I got a black sword, and that seemed to basically be like the same in terms of like how it feels to use. Obviously, it's more powerful. But then you also have your tried and true Zelda items. You have a bow and arrow that you use in this game. Of course, you have arrows that can, you need to replenish those from breaking pots. So once again, very Zelda. You have bombs that you need to replenish that you can use to defeat certain types of enemies or bomb walls and reveal secrets. Maybe I just didn't pay close enough attention during the reveal, but I truly did not realize watching it that this is a Zelda game, and that just has me so freaking excited. Something that feels, once again, comparing it to Zelda, I mean, it's impossible to avoid, but something that I thought was a little weird is that you can only equip 2 items at once. Now, maybe that's going to be changed in the full game. In this, I only have access to the sword, the bombs, and the arrows. Like in the original Link's Awakening, you could only have your sword and one of those extra items equipped, one of those extra weapons. So it's kind of annoying. You have to press ZL or ZR or whatever, pop up the quick menu and re-equip the arrows or bombs depending on what situation you're in. I hope they make that a little bit more smooth in the full game, which, I mean, it's great they're doing this demo. This team is known for doing their demos actually early, and, they're requesting feedback. So this is the kind of stuff that hopefully they can fix up and make a little bit more streamlined for the full release. That is something that, kind of stood out to me. I think there also might actually be a chain and sickle item in the demo as well. I saw, at least they showed it in the trailer. I did not access that. I did not find that in my playtime, but I'm going to go back through it again after doing this video, and maybe I'll find that, and that'll, once again, mix up the gameplay even more. It feels like an evolution of 2D Zelda combat, and that's really cool. I just think they need to streamline a couple of things, make the animations for swinging your sword feel a little bit more fluid, but the actual enemies and how you're taking them down feels really cool. There's also like a charge attack with your sword where you can, once again, do a Link sword beam, which is awesome. Talking more about the dungeons and like the puzzle solving. So I'm not quite sure how exactly it's all segmented, but there was like a core dungeon with like a boss. We'll talk about him in just a second. But there was also this like shrine that I found that gave me an extra heart, or I can't remember exactly what they called it, but in the top left of the screen, you can see my health. These are basically bite-sized Zelda shrines in a 2D setting. It was this like horde of arrows coming at me. I had to, quickly weave around them. I got hit a couple of times, but at the end of it, once again, just a very short challenge. I was presented with more health. I hope there's a lot of these in the game. These are very cool. It's nice to have that break from the combat and focus more on the movement of the game. I hope there's a lot of these. Very cool stuff there. And then, yeah, that boss fight in that dungeon. The dungeon was pretty lengthy, I want to say. I mean, for an opening dungeon, this was maybe 1/3 of my time in the demo. Maybe not quite that much, but a lot of different pathways, different keys to collect and unlock different doors. Lots of different enemies down here as well. And then that boss fight, this was a 2D version of like Jabu Jabu mixed with King Dodongo. So you have this giant catfish who's, jumping up, making his lily pads fly around, and then he does this big inhaling attack where if you can throw a bomb in there and he'll, get stunned and you can do more damage. Not the most in-depth thing in the world, but just once again, as like a first demo boss fight, this was really cool. Great theming and like sprite art all along the way. This has immediately become one of my most anticipated titles of 2026. I cannot wait to see more of it. I hope they, take the feedback to heart. They really kind of polish the, nitpicks that I have with it, with, some of the combat, a dodge roll. Maybe that would break the game. Maybe it wouldn't. I don't know if that's something they can add in at this point in development, but a dodge roll I feel like would be nice, because while I was playing, I kept pressing ZL. I don't know what I'm playing recently that ZL is dodge roll. Is that Donkey Kong? I'm not sure, but I kept pressing ZL, which for some reason is how you open your map. So I would, be doing like a combat encounter and I'll press ZL and open up the map on accidents. I'm sure that, that would go away in time, but something that gives you a little bit more movement while you're doing combat would spruce it up a little bit. But also, I guess that's what the point of, I think it's Faye, once again, her abilities. There was one that I didn't use too much where you like do a dash attack. I guess that would kind of be the replacement. And once again, that's on a cooldown. So maybe that's how they kind of balance it. I'm excited to go back in and try to find any other secrets or weapons that I might have missed. There's also this whole Magicite system where you can have like different Magicite sets and like presets, and basically you just put these different stat boosters in there for like, just basic attack or defense, magic, whatever. And that's pretty cool. Didn't get too in depth with that from my playtime, but still, I'm sure in the full game, you're going to be able to do some crazy builds with that. That has you doing more damage or giving you more health, whatever it may be. This game does also support co-op, 2-player co-op. One person can play as the fairy. Kind of interesting. Not the type of game I would expect Square Enix to really go for as like, okay, this is a co-op experience. I don't know if this is something that Olivia would like to play with me, to be honest, but it is there as an option. Kind of more like that Mario Galaxy style co-op where one person's doing the bulk of the work in the combat and then a second player, I guess, is more for the puzzle solving. I think the fairy can also attack enemies though and do like a little bit of damage, which is interesting. So there is 2-player co-op. kind of neat. I hope they do game share for this, or, you know, some sort of online, so, you know, you don't have to necessarily be local to do the co-op experience, but worth noting that is an option here. Pretty cool. Didn't get too much of a feel for the story from the very brief intro where you're talking to this like king character or whatever, but I'm sure it'll be fine. These character portraits that all of these games have, I mean, the artwork is so beautiful and like the voice acting is so good that it's hard to get a full feel from this demo, but I'm already just like invested because the voice acting is good and because the artwork is so good and because, once again, the sprite work is so good. All of these enemies look so unique. The boss design was great. I know some people are getting tired of the HD 2D style, and I kind of agree to an extent, and I think revealing 2 of them back to back was maybe not the best idea for Square Enix to do, but as long as they keep doing a lot of variety in the gameplay, right? We have turn-based RPGs, we have remakes of Dragon Quest, we have Triangle Strategy, which is, you know, a tactics game, we have Live Alive, which is a different type of strategy game, and now we're getting this as an action RPG. I hope the full game is as good as this demo was, with, you know, refinements to make it even better, and I hope this becomes another, like, little side staple series in this HD 2D subgenre. I saw the Square Enix account made an entire, you know, they made an entire Twitter account just for HD 2D games, which is interesting. I would say this is definitely not the last of this style of game from Square Enix, which I know some people don't love. I like the art style. I think it's getting a little tired, but it is pretty. There's no denying that this game is pretty. I think it looks really nice, and like the reflection and like the lighting and everything looks really cool. So The Adventures of Elliot: The Millennium Tale, just a vague 2026 release date. I am sold though. We have not had a proper 2D Zelda game in my opinion, not counting Link's Awakening remake, since 2013, and even then with A Link Between Worlds, that was reusing the A Link to the Past map. So it's been a long time since Nintendo has given us a proper new true 2D Zelda game, and we are finally getting that from a developer that I was not expecting to give us that. So very excited for this game. If you have played this demo, let me know what you think in the comments down below, or maybe this video convinced you to check it out. It is free on the eShop, so there's really no reason not to try it. Before I end off the video, I do want to apologize for the lack of uploads on Its-A-Mii the past 2 weeks here. Been very busy. We adopted a new kitty. He's been taking all my energy, and also just busy with other stuff. So uploads should resume to their normal pace here in a couple of days over the weekend. I still want to do a video on the Somnium Files, working on my Donkey Kong Bonanza review, so lots of stuff coming. Stay tuned for that, and until next time, folks, peace!